Well friends, unfortunately there was no announcement about the new Smash character during the Game Awards, so we will probably get that in the new Nintendo Direct. Which will probably air in January, as it mostly does. But last time it aired in February, so that's also a possibility. So while we wait for that, let me entertain you with another list of 5 potential characters from a third-party developer that I really would like to see. And again, thank you so much all of you for putting your great lists in the comments of the previous episode as well. I always love to read those. And you also gave me a lot of great inspiration on what game developer I should talk about next. A lot of great suggestions, but one that stood out to me was Bandai Namco, the head developer for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. But they only have one character in, which is Pac-Man. So let's give them some advice on what characters we want to see from them as well. So be sure to leave your 5 suggestions of characters from this company in the comments. Alright, let me show you my picks for this episode. Let's begin with a series that I actually played a lot of when I was very young, but one that I haven't touched in a while now. Soulcalibur, or the game that I played, Soul Blade, which would be the first installment in the franchise. You also had Soul Edge in the arcades, but that was the same game as Soul Blade. And man, upon doing some research on this series for this video, I think it's a damn shame that I haven't played it in such a long time. And I even kind of forgot that I played that first game. But when I watched that intro again after all this time, I got slapped in the face with nostalgia. Jesus Christ, this cutscene was so awesome back in the day. And it still holds up really well. I remember watching this every single time when booting up the game, just because I thought it was that awesome. Great memory. But you don't want to hear this old man talking about childhood memories, you want to know about characters for Smash. And Soulcalibur has a wide range of potential fighters. Soulcalibur is known as a fighting game, but the characters always wield weapons instead of just fighting with their hands and feet. And there are many important figures throughout the series. Sophithia would be cool for Smash, who fights with a sword and shield. Or Astaroth, who could be a nice heavy fighter with his huge axe. But there is one character that I would love even more. And for me, that would be Voldo. I always picked him as a kid because he's just so different and weird from the others. I always liked that kind of thing. He's very flexible and moves almost like a snake. And his weapons are katars, which are like claws or knives that are attached to a handle. Which is something that could be very unique for Smash. He was the right hand of a rich Italian merchant. And when he was tasked to protect this man's treasures, he would spend many years in this dark money pit. By doing so, he lost his eyesight, but gained incredible heightened senses like hearing and sensing other people around him. He's a weirdo with a unique moveset, and he might be a bit scary for Ultimate, but that's what makes a great character in my opinion. Now before we continue, let's settle one thing. Can Digimon come to Smash? As Digimon is mostly popularized by the anime, and Sakurai has stated that a character has to originate from a video game to get in. So what up? Well, Digimon started out as a Tamagotchi-like project, which was fairly popular. And after that, the first season of the anime would begin in 1999. But a video game called Digimon World would also release that same year, with the series beginning in March, but the game releasing in January. Which means that the game was first. So most things point to Digimon counting as a video game franchise, so let's just go with that. And who would be the best? You know who would be the best. Agumon. Who doesn't love this reptilian cutie? Everybody wants to play as a tiny dinosaur, I can imagine. In this form, he is able to do some fun attacks like claw his enemies, uppercuts, biting, but also things like breathing fire with different kind of power levels. But that's just one form. The fun thing about Digimon are the Digivolutions, and that has to be something that's present in his moveset. I think it could work similarly as the Pokemon trainer, with different forms for one character. His second form could be Greymon, who also wears some kind of helmet to do some headbutt damage. And after that you get Metal Greymon, who looks even more menacing than before. For his final smash you could make him digivolve into War Greymon, to really deliver some damage. I think there are a lot of possibilities here for this character, but if it will happen, remains a question. And what about this dog? Or a cat? Or a rabbit? I don't know, but I think he deserves some more love. Kleenoa, an interesting character with a pretty big fanbase. but one that had some bumps in its video game development, which is why we don't see much of him these days. He first appeared in Kleenoa Door to Phantomile, which was a game that was loved by fans and critics. With its 3D side-scrolling adventure, it was an amazing first step in the world of Kleenoa. There would be some other games along the way, but the last one released in 2002, but only in Japan, which would be more of an action RPG game instead of the 2D format that it used to be. But it was still fairly well received. There was a confirmation that a Kleenoa movie was in the works, but that also got cancelled. And a unique trademark was filed this year hinting at a new game. So we are not really sure where we at with this franchise. What we do know is that Kleenoa is awesome. He has a very unique attack with the wind bullet that comes from the ring that he holds. The blast of wind will inflate enemies, which makes them round so that Kleenoa can toss or kick them around. But he can also float himself with his big ears. And I can imagine that he can just fight with his fists as well. There are also many wacky characters to be found in the series, who would be great to see in the background of a dreamlike stage in Smash. Did you also know that before Archie Omni created the fake Rayman leak for Smashified, that he made a model for Kleenoa as well? Which looks really convincing. If he looked like this in Ultimate, I would be one happy man. I hope we will see more of Kleenoa soon, and to have him in Smash could be a great first step. I have a character here that I'm not all too familiar with myself, but I heard about him through fan ballads and seeing you guys reacting under my other videos. Lloyd Irving, the protagonist for Tales of Symphonia. Now I say this because I have never played the game myself, but this guy piqued my interest nonetheless, seeing that so many people were talking about him. Lloyd is a swordy boy, but what makes him different than many other Smash sword fighters is that he wields two of them instead of one, which would make him unique among them. But he can do much more than that. He can manipulate energy, which makes it possible for him to shoot beams from his sword, for instance. And he also has incredible strength. I would love to see a dual wielder that only uses his sword for his attacks. It could make for some interesting possibilities. And if you are wondering why so many people want him in Smash, then I can tell you why. Tales of Symphonia, which is the 5th game in the Tales series, is the best-selling entry. And that is quite impressive, as there have been many more Tales games since that installment. It was also released on the GameCube, which gave a lot of Nintendo fans the opportunity to play it. But so people have been requesting this guy to get in since Brawl, and I think he should deserve a chance seeing his history with Nintendo. But as I said, I never played the game, but it's on my backlog, so I hope to play it somewhere next year. Man, so many people are going on about that they want a new Street Fighter rep, and there are a couple of fun ones, but that wasn't my fighting game growing up. Oh no, my jam was Tekken, and I love this franchise to this day. One of my very first videos on this channel was about my top 5 characters for Smash Ultimate, and I would like to ask you not to watch that video because it's not really that good, but the fighters that I picked are still pretty true. And one character I talked about was Heihachi from Tekken. And I still really believe he's one of the most prominent fighters of that game. And if they would add a Tekken fighter in Smash, he would probably be the one. But if I had to pick one personally, I would go for King or Yoshimitsu. But they probably won't do that as they are not the face of the franchise. But one character that is Jin Kazama, grandson of Heihachi, and poster boy for Tekken in most of the games, together with his grandfather. Because I talked about Heihachi before, I want to shine some light on Jin as well. I think he could work really well as he has an awesome fighting style which would be a nice contrast with the other fighter boys. Besides that, many of his attacks have an electrical charge to them. So get out of the way, Pikachu, there is a new electric cutie in town. And if you have played the Tekken games, you know that we don't only have Jin, but also his demonic form Devil Jin, which would be freaking cool to turn into for his final smash, where he can keep doing his regular attacks only with some massive damage. And of course shoot laser beams from his forehead, which is his signature move. Bandai Namco is heavily involved with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, so it's pretty weird to me that they don't have a character from their own fighting game in yet. I really hope a Tekken character will join at some point. And while I would be happy with most of them, Jin or Heihachi will probably be it. So that's it, 5 fighters from Bandai Namco that I think would work very well for Smash. But now I would like to skip to the most important part of these videos. Your opinion. If you get to decide 5 characters from Bandai Namco to get in, then who would it be? Comment them down below as I always appreciate your input. Oh, and if you have a favorite third-party developer that you want me to talk about in the next episode, then let me know as well. And if you are still here, then I would like to ask you something else. Would you mind clicking that subscribe button? It really helps me out a lot, and you will be the first to know when new episodes of this series release. I already made a couple of them, and I have a lot more Nintendo content on my channel. But there is also much more on the way. So if you would like to do that, then we will be very good friends. Oh, and liking is also always appreciated. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you have an amazing day.